This is tutorial 2-5, creating normalized and density maps in the GIS Tutorial 1 basic workbook. In the previous tutorials, we've been looking at raw counts, and sometimes that can make for a deceptive map. So what we're going to look at in this tutorial is how we can use another field to normalize the data to where everything is kind of playing on an even playing field. I'm continuing from tutorial 2-4, so I'm going to save my work and then hit the Save As button and save this as tutorial 2-5. Over in the table of contents, I'm going to make sure that owner occupied by county is off, as well as renter occupied. I'm going to turn on the vacant housing by county and expand it. I'm also going to make a copy of it and paste it and bring it down to the bottom and turn it off just for now. And we're going to compare with the copy that I just made. So I'm just going to put a copy at the end. Then I'm going to go into properties for the vacant housing by county. In the general tab, I'm going to change this to say %, vacant housing by county. Then I'm going to click the symbology tab, and we're going to leave the value field to vacant, but we're going to use the normalization field and change that to HSE units. This HSE units field is for total number of housing. We're going to change our classification. Previously this was set to manual, but as soon as I used the normalization field, it put it back to the default of natural breaks. So we're going to come in here and we're going to use a new method. It's going to be equal interval. As you can see down here in our graph, each class is equally spaced, but you can also see that each class has a different number of features in it. In the first one we have 1,944, then 892, 252, 85, 35, and then finally 11. Change the number of classes to 5, and you can see that the first class now has a lot more than originally with the 6 classes. It went up to 2,255. But the last class now contains 3 more. So we're going to click OK. And right here, our percentages are being shown as decimal places. So what we need to do is change the formatting. So we're going to label with the left mouse click and then format labels. And then we're going from numeric to percentage. Now, if this field was already showing our values as a percentage, all this would do would add the percentage sign to our values. But because we're showing a fraction, we have to convert it to a percentage first. And I'm just going to move this over to the side. We also have a lot of decimal places, so we can go into numeric options and change that to just 1. And nothing's going to be in the thousands, so we don't have to waste time clicking Show Thousand Separator. Click OK, and then OK again. Now you can see that a few are using the decimal place and some are not. If we go back to Label, Format Labels, Numeric Options, we could pad with zeros. Click OK, and OK again. And now all of our values at least have a percentage showing with at least 1 decimal place, even if it is set to a 0. So that could help your legend look a little bit nicer. Let's click OK. And now you can see that we have only a few areas with very high percentages. And some of them are not in the major states that you would think. There's a lot in Washington State. There's one in Idaho, but also a few high counties as well. If we compare this to the original, most of the large values were in Southern California in the southwest, as well as Florida. With our new map, Florida still has quite a few in some of the upper classes. Southern California is in the lowest class. So we're going to right-click our percent vacant, copy it. We're going to paste it onto our layers. I'm going to turn off the original, and I'm going to drag it under US states. And I'm going to close one at the bottom. And we're going to change the name of this in the General tab as Vacant Housing Density. We're going to click on the Symbology tab, and we're going to change the normalization field from HSE units to A-land 10. And this field has the area of land for each county. Notice that the classification has gone back to natural breaks and that our labeling format has changed as well. The book does not ask us to change the classification, so we're just going to leave it as is. We're going to click OK. They want us to right-click on US cities and turn on the labels. Then they want us to use the bookmarks and go to New York. And you can see that there is a high density of vacant homes in New York. Now we're going to go up to bookmarks and we're going to look at Los Angeles. And it's nowhere near as bad as New York was. Then we're going to go up to bookmarks, go to Chicago. And Chicago is not as good as Los Angeles was. There seems to be more vacant housing in Chicago than there is in Los Angeles. Of course, Los Angeles is much larger. And the same issue can happen with New York. It's a much smaller area. What else do we have? We have San Francisco. The San Francisco area is small, but there's a high density of vacant housing. Let's return to the 48 states. Let's go back into our vacant housing density, and let's look at our classification. If we click on the first one, we can see that a majority of our features are in this class. There's 2,976. In the second class, there's 195. In the third, there's 37. In the fourth, there's 10. And then there's only one in the highest density of vacant housing. And I believe that was the one that was near New York City. So I'm going to cancel out of that. Go back to our main map. Save our map. And that concludes the video.